So Gabby, you are part of a small minority of footballers who spent their entire career at one football club. What makes Aston Villa so special to you? And why did you stay there for your entire career?
I think for me it was from being a Villa fan from a kid, getting into the Villa side, making my debut, and then even when I had my first 3-4 seasons and I was in really good form, getting to England squads, even when clubs were interested in me then, I think, as crazy as it sounds, clubs knew that I wouldn't leave. You know, you get them players sometimes that, like, if you say Aston Villa, they knew it was Gabby Agbonlahor, he wouldn't leave them, so we're not even going to attempt to try and twist his arm because he's not going to leave. Aston Villa are a good side, they're fighting for top 4, so at that time it was more, why leave when it's not, the grass isn't always greener? Do you know what I mean? Like, why leave to Spurs, who were interested at the time, when Spurs were in the same position as Villa? So for me at that time it was like, you're at a massive club, big history, you're a fan, and there's no reason to leave. And over the rest of my career, even when things got worse with like results and losing all our best players, it was sort of, Gabby's not for sale. You know, from the owner it was more like, we'll sell everyone else but you're not for sale, you're going to keep the ship up, basically.
Yeah, and obviously you made your Premier League debut at just 19 years old. As two Villa supporters watching this, what is it like being a Villa supporter, putting on that top, stepping out of Villa Park for your debut? How do you describe that emotion?
I think it's really hard to describe. It's sort of like, it doesn't feel surreal, doesn't feel real at all. It feels like you're in a fantasy. Like, even when I got told I was making my debut, it didn't feel real. Even after my debut I scored, it didn't feel real afterwards. Then when I made my home debut, it just doesn't feel real until you get maybe 10-15 games in that stadium where you start to feel like, alright, this isn't a dream anymore, I'm actually a professional footballer for the team that I've supported and been to watch as a kid.
Now, obviously being a Villa boy, you know about the rivalry between Aston Villa and Birmingham, and you scored a fair few goals yourself in those games. Why is there so much, sort of, for want of a better word, hatred between those two sides? And why was it so important to you as an individual to perform in these games?
It's crazy. I remember saying it a few months ago about, by Celtic Rangers, Aston Villa Birmingham City is the next one for me. I watched the London derbies, the Manchester derbies, the Liverpool Everton derbies, and there's nothing compared to the Aston Villa Birmingham City. I don't know what it might be from the history, but for me growing up, I used to watch the Villa Birmingham City derbies, and I watched the one where Dublin headbutted Savage and Lee Hendry getting into scuffles, and I used to always watch the games as a 13-14 year old thinking, I can't wait, I wish that can be me. And when I finally got the chance to do it, in my mind frame I was like, I'm not losing. That's why I didn't lose a game in the league against them, because in my head I was like, we don't like them, like we hate each other, so we are not going to lose this game. So you sort of get adrenaline that you don't realise you've got. Do you know what I mean? Extra fitness you don't realise you've got, extra fight you don't realise you've got, because it's a derby. And I think that puts the Villa derby ahead of most others.
If you had to sort of pinpoint one thing or one cause at the club that was the reason for this sort of yo-yoing and inconsistencies across the last 10 years or so, what would it be?
I think for me the thing that stands out dramatically is just the change in approach from owners, the change in approach of investments. I think if you look at clubs in the Premier League, once you stop investing and start to cost cut, there's only one way you go in. Look at the likes of Sunderland, what's happened to them, and I think that was a big thing for Aston Villa. Once Randy Lerner had done some great things for Aston Villa, but once he stopped investing and started to sell every player that would come at a decent price, Aston Villa just dropped season by season. The talent in the squad just dropped, and we were bringing in players that weren't good enough, and before you knew it we were relegated. And I think at the moment there's different owners in there, so I'm hoping these owners can keep pumping money into the squad, and Villa can get back to where there was this time probably 11 years ago.
And with inconsistencies comes managerial changes, of course, and you had quite a few when you was at the club in your time there. Which manager do you think you had the best relationship, both on the pitch, who got the best out of you, and off the pitch, who sort of made you feel good and wanted at the club?
I think overall I'd say Martin O'Neill because he treated me like the first day he come in. He treated me like his own son. I mean, me and Ashley Young were like his child, basically, his kids. Everyone used to take the mick out of us because the way he loved us so much. We could have 5 bad games and the 6th game we still started. When you've got that relationship with someone who trusts you and will keep you in the team even when things aren't going good, because he trusts that they will come good because he knows you're a good player. And he knew how to motivate us. He knew how to manage us off the pitch. He knew how to just basically everything that you need off a manager, and he was by far the best for me.
And talking about managers, was there ever a manager or even a signing Villa made that when it was announced, when you found out, that you thought you just had this gut feeling that it wasn't going to work out for them at the club for whatever reason?
Yeah, I think there's been a few, but for me it was more some of the players that I hadn't heard of before. So when Villa were signing under the Paul Lambert era, signing players that had come from the 2nd division or 1st division in Spain and France, and no offence to them, the likes of there's one player called Jakub Silla, and then when you see them in training, you're like, oh, these players aren't good enough. So when you see them for a few days in training, you already know that they're not up to the limit that you need to in the Premier League.
And were there any we've sort of touched on managers coming in or players coming in that maybe weren't up to the job. Were there any managers let go or players let go that you thought with time, or with given more time, they would have gone on to improve their fortunes at that time, in that moment?
Yeah, the one player that stands out for me is Michael Brighton. I mean, Villa got rid of him at a time where, for me, he was learning his trade, he was getting better and better, and then we let him go, and a few years later he's winning a title at Leicester. So for me, he was one. Andreas Wyman, another one who had a great partnership with Benteke, and the club decided to let him go, and he's carried on to have a great career. So there has been quite a few, definitely, but it happens in most clubs.
And you left the club in 2018 with Steve Bruce in charge, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Then what was your relationship like with him, and how did that sort of your career at Villa? How did that come to an end?
So me and Steve Bruce he was amazing. I didn't play much under him, but he was an amazing manager. He reminded me of Martin O'Neill a lot. He was an old school manager who's played the game, and he was amazing. But for me at that time, I wasn't the same player I'd been through my career. I mean, sometimes people say to you that you can lose your pace overnight or you feel old overnight. And I think once I hit 30, 31, it was like, alright, I feel old. Do you know what I mean? 29 I felt young, and then 30 I just felt old overnight. And he done his best to get me into the side, but at that time I just wasn't good enough to get into the side. I was getting a lot of niggling injuries, and if he had his way, he would have given me a new deal, but at that time I didn't deserve one. I was getting a lot of injuries, not playing much, and I think it was the right decision for me to leave.
And touching on Steve Bruce, of course, he's in charge of Newcastle now, who, as far as I'm aware, there's still rumours of a takeover from a very rich group of people. If they come in, there's rumours that they might look elsewhere for sort of a higher profile manager to come in.
Yeah.
Do you think he should be given a chance, given a shot to take him to the next step?
100%. I mean, he's gone in there and he's fighting to keep Newcastle up, and he's done a great job with the points that Newcastle have got so far with an average squad. I mean, if you look at the squads in the Premier League, even the teams in the bottom 4, 5, 6 have probably got better squads than Newcastle. So he's doing the best he can with the players that he's been given. So give him money and you can go and buy better midfielders, better attacking players. I'm sure his Newcastle side will do a lot better. And he's had a great career as a player and a manager. And I think he deserves the chance definitely to have a go.
And last 2 questions for you. Now that you're a bit older, you can look back, you've retired from the game obviously. Are there any specific moments where you look back and think, like, you would have done something differently, be it on the pitch, be it off the pitch, be it training, being private, just something? Mm-hmm. Any major moments that you look back in hindsight and go, I would have done that differently? Yeah,
1,000%. I could be here all day saying what I could have done better. I mean, I was saying to a friend of mine, I watched the Michael Jordan documentary, The Last Dance, and I wish that documentary had come out when I was 17, 18, because I think for any young player now should be watching that documentary and thinking, wow, that's what it takes to get to the top. I think if I had that mind frame and that dedication off the pitch, on the pitch, maybe not going out drinking through my career, maybe staying and doing extra during my career, I reckon I would have played longer and I would have maybe gone and had a better career than I did. So definitely there would be a lot of things that I would have changed.
Yeah, and lastly, just to finish on, when again looking back over your time in the game, what gives you the most pride in terms of your footballing career?
I think for me it was just the most pride would be, I think, proving people wrong. You know, when I was at school, I had a lot of people saying, you won't make it, you know, no one makes it as a footballer, it's 1% that make it out of 1 million or whatever they used to say. So for me it was just proving people wrong, and the sacrifice that my dad went through to take me to training after working 8 till 5 and take me to training, just to repay him for the sacrifices he made to give me the chance to play football.